if he can fight through the Sylvanas. A lot of gas.
Oh, look at that though. Brawl and Gromash in the opening hand for Tides of Time. It's not the greatest hand, you know, but yeah, with 2 Mountain Giants, I think this big game hunter might have kind of hunted a little bit more than he's ready for at this point.
Yeah, it's looking I like the coin life tap here too. He's got the turn 3 play with Earthring Farseer, so he's going to be able to life tap twice and then still be able to play Mountain Giant on turn 4.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, armoring up a lot of early turns from a warrior. So like Reels, how much of a warrior fan are you? Is it a class you played a lot in Hearthstone?
It is something that I've played a good bit. There are certainly players who have played it a lot more than I have. This is one of the more difficult matchups to play though. So things like the big game hunter do help out quite a bit. I'm actually surprised he mulliganed away his Shield Slam, because that's a card that you either use on an early minion like this, or if they don't have an early minion like that, then it lets you take out something bigger.
Well, yeah, the idea is if you can draw into maybe a shield block on turn 4 and then shield block into Shield Slam, you can take something out with 8 health if you've been armoring up, but hasn't worked out this time around. He was able to actually get it with Death's Bite, though, so a little bit of a early edge here for Tides, maybe.
He's going to be able to fight through almost everything here, too, because he picked the Spellbreaker. So like, this is going to get countered. But this isn't like the worst-case scenario. He's actually going to have to use his Axe Swing to take this out. So it would be big game hunters, the Mountain Giant. He doesn't just have the Axe ready for the second Mountain Giant. Of course, he has to pay a life for that. But it's not really that big of a deal when you think about you're killing a second Mountain Giant. Wow, he doesn't swing at it.
He decides not to attack into the Warlock's face.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Killing it with the Death Rattle, of course, it kind of does a whirlwind effect. It does 1 damage to everything, but just leaving that on the board.
Yeah, really heads up play.
Yeah, just not too worried about it. Yep, and he's going to be glad he has that. Of course, Big Game Hunter's probably going to be coming out on this Mountain Giant, but beyond that, he's going to have the Death Bite to use again, rather, if he wants to.
Acolyte, too.
Yeah.
This is a really strong start.
It's solid, yeah.
Next turn, he could potentially even have 2 Acolytes out for the whirlwind off of the Death's Bite.
Yeah, Death's Bite has been so good for Control Warrior because that whirlwind effect, it sets up executes, it sets up draws for your Acolytes of Pain, it gives you armor from your Armorsmith. It just fits in so perfectly with how Warrior is mostly played these days.
Gave you another very fitting removal spell too.
Yeah, true.
I'm very surprised he's going to be able to fight through this so well.
Like, yeah, it's when you see multiple giants like this, it usually doesn't go that easy for Warrior.
He's got other considerations too. Like, I don't think Sylvanas is unreasonable here, and I think there's some argument for even using like Hellfire. But then if you're going to use Hellfire, like, do you want to use the Owl first? Because Owl is like, you want to save it a lot of times for stuff like your opponent's Sylvanas or a can or something. Yeah. So you don't have as much to fight through. But this hand is like, it's really good, but it's going to actually be struggling in this match just because of the way how strong Tides Open's been.
Yeah, it's a really actually interesting game, the way that things have kind of been drawn out here. I feel like from Kuhaku's perspective, yeah, you kind of feel compelled to play the Mountain Giant. And okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. Silences that.
I like the Soulfire too. I feel like it's just necessary.
And discards Earthring Farseer. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Ragnaros getting drawn. Rag in both hands now.
I feel like this is so close to... I think they're so close to being able to justify using a Brawl here.
I know, yeah. It doesn't take a lot, does it? You know, yeah. We'll see what he goes for in turn 7. There's that Siphon Soul. May come in handy a little bit later, but right now, what would you do? I mean, Sylvanas definitely maybe an option, I would say. Otherwise, you've got Faceless Manipulator. Do you copy a Giant?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. It's easily your strongest play this turn.
Getting another 8/8 out there after you've already seen the Big Game Hunter and everything. I guess you gotta be worried about executes a little bit, but.
Do you attack the Loatheb here if you play the Faceless? Like, how worried are you about Brawl?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think you. Oh, he's gonna go for face. Okay. Interesting.
Wow. Very glad he's going to be held at this point, of course.
That is so aggressive, man. Whoa. Oh, Faceless Manipulator, too.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wow. Are we going to see this?
Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is my kind of game. Senor Del Fuego. 67% chance. And the other one's really bad, though.
2 out of 3.
Guess what? He hit the golden one, too.
Not bad.
Ragnaros is the only gold legendary on this board.
And that's really the moral victory. You know, you take out the golden Mountain Giant, and that hits home hard.
Why did he mix them up, by the way? Why did he use one golden and one non-golden?
I don't know. That always annoys me when I'm looking at deck lists because they're like twice as long then, you know?
He didn't use one. Are you talking about the Giants?
Yeah, one of them was not golden, right?
It's because it was a faceless golden.
The faceless was the golden.
Yeah. No, earlier he only had one golden and one non-golden.
Oh, I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know, the favorite
He's
son.
crazy.
Wait, does he just play Ragnaros right back?
Maybe. I would.
No, you got a
Siphon Soul. Yeah, I mean.
Wait, he's got a golden and non-golden Siphon Soul.
I guess he just enjoys making his deck list extremely long. Yeah.
He's like, take this one.
I do think you got to Siphon Soul. And would you go ahead and trade with Lothep at this point?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
He's been so aggressive so far already, though. He's like, well, I'm gaining health from Siphon Soul. I might as well go to face, right?
I got to beef with it.
The Sylvanas, I don't know, might get played eventually. I mean, he's also got the nice combo, too, with Sylvanas and a Power Overwhelming, where he can actually do a little bit more damage and steal something from the other side of the board. Time's ticking away.
Make something happen. Siphon Soul, I think this is the pretty easy one. So, now he's going to face the Sun Protector.
Wow.
Wow, he's really opening himself to the Black Knight, too, though.
No kidding. I mean, it's a popular card right now in Control Warrior. There's the execute.
You can faceless your opponent's Mountain Giant.
And then, then attack into it and execute it. Ouch. Well, there we go. That's the danger of Control Warrior. And, you know, the thing is, that's why he was probably so aggressive with his attacking, too, because at any moment, the Warrior can just do a tiny bit of damage to your Giants and then just kill him with execute. So you do have to be kind of careful with that thing. Tides of Time thinking.
What do you attack here?
Yeah.
With the weapon.
Reels, would you trade?
I would not. You're still holding Gromash, and right now you're running out of cards. Your best way to win this game is to have an activated Gromash, and that means that you're probably holding on to that Death Spite until you know that it's activating that guy.
That's exactly what he sees, too.
Well, Ancient Watcher. No more taunt activators in the hand of Kuhaku right now.
Oh, man. He's 1 mana off being able to Sylvanas Shadow Flame.
I know.
And take that Giant right back.
Oh, that would be so good, but it's time. I think it's time for some risks. He's got another Siphon Soul, too, so he can take out the 8/8 taunt if he wants to. It still definitely leaves some scary stuff on the board, but I guess if you Siphon Soul the 8/8 taunt, then that's what, 16 plus
20.
6. Yeah, you'd still actually be dead to Gromash, wouldn't you?
I think at this point, like with the position he's in, I think he just has to like hope his opponent doesn't have Gromash.
Yeah. Yeah, now that I look at it. Yeah, and he's life tapping anyway.
Yeah,
thought maybe he could draw into a taunt giver.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, that works.
Okay. How did I not see that? What?
I
like missing like the most obvious play in his hand.
I wanted to say something.
Build the drama. I don't know.
Feel free to interrupt.
Yeah, just like talk over
just
man. If you want something to say, just do it. That's right. All right, so Fiery War Axe, a draw. Gromash still in there.
1 damage off lethal.
Yeah. It's so
1
close.
damage.
So close.
If that had been
is Ysera the best play here? Do you just hope that you get some ridiculous like Ysera Awakens or something like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can draw with Ysera that can end the game.
Two of the draws.
It will get siphoned.
Yeah, 2 of the draws will end it.
Yeah, I mean, Tides doesn't know it'll get siphoned, but I think, Ysera's definitely a play. Yeah, he goes for it.
If you didn't have a weapon out right now, oh my gosh, and he gets the Awaken
does
too.
Oh.
Wow, is that just, is it over? Siphon Soul out there. He can take out Ysera. We'll see.
Gosh. It's a trap.
It is a trap.
It's like, please, you want to Siphon Soul the Ysera. Ragnaros would not be helpful here.
Is there anything that keeps him alive?
You could Lothep.
I mean, yeah, Lothep would make Ysera
he can't kill the Ysera.
Oh, that's true, too.
Yeah.
Well,
He just
well, yeah.
Well, does he? No, because
well, 8 plus, no, he wouldn't.
No, because opponents just got 4 from Ysera, and then still got 10.
So
8 with the weapon and Ysera, and then Gromash would be
just too low
10,
at this point. It's just like all of his Giants got dealt with the turn they were played,
which is, I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
If Warrior normally does not do that.
Yeah, and he didn't have Shield Block or Shield Slam either, and he only used 1 Execute.
That's the thing. I mean, if I was Kuhaku, I would totally be Siphon Souling Ysera. You know, from his perspective, not knowing what's in his opponent's hand, it looks like the best play, but you're right. He's going to life tap first. All right.
Yeah.
So,
oh boy.
I assume he sees it. Amazingly well played by Tides.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there it is. Ysera Awakens, and he's got more than enough damage to finish off Kuhaku. Game 1 being picked up by Control Warrior. Very cool.
Yeah. I like his play the whole way through.
Yeah.
And, like, again, the real key here, this is showing just how important information is when you come into these games. He knew his opponent was playing handlock. Keeping that BGH, I think, just outright won that game when you really look at it. Instead, it shows your opponent like a winning portrait
shows it blow up.
So if they quit the game, like that's how the Fade Death wins you the game.
Yes.
They're like, that was my game for the day. Log off.
You see their portrait explode, and it's like, no, they just come back a second later.
Yeah.
There you go.
Give him the log out chance.
All right. We'll have the announcement at BlizzCon, right?
Yeah. So
we're counting on you now.
SI7 Agent and Azure Drake in here, so I think this is going to be a slower. Oh, he's got Sludge Belcher too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So this is
definitely slower.
Much more slow scaling build, and I think this is going to have a little bit worse of a matchup. against Warrior. Like you saw earlier, I was playing Cold Light Oracles. That deck is specifically aimed at control decks. With Sinister Strike and Cold Light Oracles, you're able to just push so much damage through that even when they taunt up, you just throw burn at their face and they die afterwards. But this one is going to... Wow, a Cairn too.
Huh. Wow.
You know,
very minion based.
I've seen Cairn like once in a while in Rogue, and I'm not so sure how I feel about it yet. It's still, you know, very much on the slow side, but if you're playing a kind of slow plotting control sort of... do we even like say control Rogue? Is that a thing you can say?
I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're there yet.
I feel really awkward even mentioning that. It feels like wrong, but
I think most Rogue decks would still be very uncomfortable saying, yes, I think that I'm doing well if the game is turn 14.
That's true.
You know, usually control decks, they don't mind.
You're talking about turn 14, that's when Rogue comes alive.
Double sprint.
Once I get my 5 cards off Ysera.
Yeah. I drew 8 cards. Yeah, well, all right. So there we go, a little bit of damage on here. He was able to eviscerate that Armor Smith. So not as much armor game for Tides as he was hoping.
You know, this is actually going to be, it feels like, unless Tides puts together a couple of really strong mid-range cards, this is going to be a little bit troublesome for him. Like, Cairn is one of those cards that Warrior doesn't deal with very well.
Yeah, that's
and then when you put Sludge Belcher before it, so like now they don't even have the option to use a weapon. Like usually, like, we'll have to pay 4 life here, and then I'll have to use a spell to kill this. He doesn't even have the option anymore because he's got to go through the Sludge Belcher first.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that like Control Warrior versus Miracle used to be, I feel, a pretty comfortable matchup for Warrior in a lot of ways because you sat back, you gained armor, you dealt with what was on the board, which usually wasn't a lot, you know, coming at you from Miracle Rogue. But now, I mean, this new version of Rogue, we do see a lot more minions on the board. You know, we do see a lot more pressure early on. And that's what Warrior has a hard time dealing with, is these minions that get up to, like, consistently, you know, 3 health, 4 health, 5 health. That's when it gets tough for Warrior.
Very different kind of pressure than you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Violet Teacher.
Violet Teacher.
Okay, so, whoa. Sludge Belcher, Cairn, double Cold Blood.
I guess, yeah.
We need to make these bigger.
Violet Teacher. This is interesting. Acolyte of Pain, okay. Good draw. Something that you would prefer to, you know, pair with Deathspite like we saw last game, or with Unstable Ghoul or something like that. But still a decent card either way.
Gosh, what do you do here, Reels? Do you develop the Acolyte? I feel like Armor Axe isn't that bad.
Armor Axe is probably a good choice. It is better on mana. He did already see... Wow, that's actually a great draw, potentially, if he wants to do it.
Yeah, it's the second Deadly Poison. I mean, I wouldn't put the Acolyte out there if I hadn't seen at least one Deadly Poison. And just kind of a little bit of bad luck for Tides that the second one pops up right after he gets rid of the first one.
For the Warrior there, none of your choices were really amazingly great.
Yeah.
And the reality is that the reason they weren't amazingly great is because you're looking at your hand and saying none of this is that great.
Yeah.
And so Acolyte is likely to turn into at least 1, hopefully 2 more cards. In this case, only 1. So not an ideal circumstance, but it still is giving him access to more things that he didn't have before.
Yeah. I always find it funny that like the Deadly Poison graphic is like this poison glob that like flies from the right side and then lands on the daggers. Does that mean like the rogue's like standing there with the poison thing in her right hand, just like tosses it over and like tries to catch it on the dagger?
That agility.
It's like, I know, I'd be afraid to toss something like that around, but
that's in my eye.
It's like I missed, no. Yeah, well, there's the axe.
Spill too, just like shatters everywhere.
I know, it just like gets all over your arm. You're like, well, I've poisoned myself now. Oh well. GG. Leroy double shadow step.
You gotta get it into the blood, man.
Oh, okay.
Your own. That's how you become.
That's why it's on the dagger. Like
if it just gets on your skin, it's okay. You can just wash it off. A little bit of soap and water.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not as worried now. It's okay. Valera, she's okay. She's safe.
Right.
This is where I feel like Tide's gonna be really confused this turn if Cairn comes out. Everything's been like, you're like, okay, Violet Teacher, I see this. Oh my.
How do you feel about Sludge Belcher Cold Blood?
I think that's fine as well.
That's kind of fun, actually. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, there's a lot of Warrior decks out there right now that don't even run Whirlwind. Yeah. So it's, I think, a perfectly fine play, and that's what he goes through.
Yeah, actually, we saw a reaction from Tides there, too. When he saw the Cold Blood, it's like, that's bad.
It's like, oh, boy.
Yeah, he's got to make something happen. This is a lot of damage that's going to be coming. Oh, Deathspite. I didn't even see that. That's really clever.
That's smart, man. Yeah, gets the Death Rattle right away.
He does have to destroy half of a card and then half of another card in order to do it.
Yeah, it feels kind of bad, but
it does make him not die. Which
he handled it well, you know.
The circumstance he was in prior to this. Wait, this is another Cold Blood, isn't it?
It could be. He could go
Cairn Cold Blood on the
Shiv and make a big Edwin.
Yeah, that's true. You could also get a pretty decent sized Van Cleef this turn as well.
Yeah, he's going to draw another card besides Cold Blood next turn. So he could probably do it next turn as well.
Yeah. I do like Karin here as well, too, because, I mean, like we talked about earlier, Karin is a really hard card for Warrior to deal with. And what is this, man? We've got a Sludge Belcher 5-2 Ooze right after a 5-1 Violet Apprentice, the Violet Teacher.
This spot's looking, it's looking like it's going to be a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I'll tell you that.
Strange game we're watching here. Yeah.
But the Rogue player is almost entirely out of cards.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, he's got Shiv. He can cycle okay, and this actually lets him trade really nicely with Karin.
Yeah, the Eviscerate is actually really good here.
Yeah.
Ooh, do you prep?
I don't think so.
Oh, you saw Big Game Hunter, so you want to keep it as a 6/6.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Well, you're unlikely to see a second, don't you think?
Well,
he played Big Game Hunter earlier.
Oh, did he play it earlier?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He played it on turn 3.
Oh, you're right. He did. Okay, because I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I mean, normally you'd want to save it, but it's going to be a 6/6 anyway.
I think that even at a 6/6, this card is, it's either going to win you the game or not.
Yep.
And you might as well hold the prep so that if it doesn't win you the game, you could draw Gadget's Hand Auctioneer and actually have it turn into more resources.
Oh, nice. He does draw into a Sludge Belcher, and that was pretty good. I mean, because otherwise he was in pretty big trouble. I mean, Ragnaros looking not that great. Of course, if he hits Karin, it doesn't do anything, essentially. No real way to execute without taking a lot of damage. So I like that. Shield block, get a little bit more effective life, and now he's got just enough mana to cast that Sludge Belcher, too.
Absorbing a lot of damage, but what does he want to draw afterwards?
Well, that's the thing. He has to just kind of sustain, I guess, now. Wow, he's going to actually take out Van Cleef, take some damage, and just armor up, not even playing the Sludge Belcher. Bold.
So if he draws something like another prep, Tides could actually climb back into the game.
Yeah. Or
and
conceal.
Just to conceal.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't help
That's
too
really
much
not
either.
Very exciting.
And I mean, I think this is a good read by Tides of Time, too, to see his opponent's hand size and be like, all right, this seems risky, but it's unlikely that you're going to have enough to kill me this turn, especially after both Cold Bloods were used, too.
And now the Sludge Belcher, he might not even be able to get through the Sludge Belcher.
Wow. You're looking at a potential for lethal here, too.
Seriously.
This is 8 damage coming out from Deathbite.
Plus 10.
Potentially 3 more from the Sludge Belcher, and then 10 more from Grommash the turn after that. That's 18. That's
21.
That's 21 damage.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. But wait, if he say that he attacks the Sludge Belcher with Karin and then attacks it with the dagger, so he'll fall to 19 from it, and then the 1 extra damage from the ooze will end the game because it's 10 plus 4.
Yep.
So oh my gosh!
Wow.
What a line.
No kidding. Well, there's Fan of Knives.
Wow.
All right, we'll see what he draws
that means
into.
he no longer has to face tank it.
That is such an important draw
Blade
right now,
Flurry,
given this context.
Now, Blade Flurry, it's not going to be, well, I mean, yeah, you can like re-weapon, then attack, then Blade Flurry, I suppose, to get rid of the 1/2. But
that seems so unreasonable.
I mean,
He's playing a very minion-heavy deck, too. He might not have anything like Assassin's Blade. That Blade Flurry might be completely stranded. He's played both Deadly Poisons already.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows he's in big trouble here.
He's thinking about concealing this.
I think he's thinking about face-tanking the slime so that you can get Karin in next turn.
Yeah, that too.
Which is probably...
Yeah, I mean...
He'll still... Even if his opponent armors up, he'll still be short.
Yeah, it's the whole, like, how many cards my opponent has? Well, it's only 2, you know, what could those 2 be? And so the chances are a little bit less. He will go ahead and Blade Flurry and then attack in.
Yeah.
He's got his opponent down to 4, but look at Tides' hand. Is this... it's not quite enough right now because he's got 4 plus 10. So
wow, this game, he's got to go for it. He's got to play Grommash here, and he's got to go for it. He's going to just be at 5 or 6 health, facing down 5 points of damage. Yeah, Can this game get any closer?
I don't know.
You really do.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no, don't do it. Don't rag.
Wait a minute. No, you got to do it the other way. That's like a guarantee the other way.
Well, that's the thing is that you got to play to win, man. You got to play for the win instead of just sustain.
Yeah, Ragnaros can get sapped too. Like that would be like a disaster situation.
But if Ragnaros hits his face and then gets sapped, you're still fine.
And the thing is, I feel like Ragnaros doesn't make you any less likely to die than Grommash does. Okay,
he
here we go.
sees it. Oh my gosh! And this is going to come down to this turn's draw.
He's going for it. There's the armor. So 6 health remaining, 5 damage on the board for Kuhaku. All he needs, anything that does 1 more damage will do it. He can tie up the series right here with this draw. Oh, what makes Belnos is not what he wants. No.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it.
This doesn't have it.
So close.
He doesn't have the damage.
Oh my gosh, the Tides played this game. This had to be like close to perfect because there's a lot of decisions I would have made differently, personally, and I cannot believe it. Unbelievable. 2-0 for Tides of Time. And that rogue deck, that's one of the decks I think you're relying on to beat this warrior deck pretty consistently.
I think that's why we saw it picked. I agree completely. Yeah, it should have been. And we saw it got him just down to the wire. He was 1 damage short of being able to close it out. But Tides with some incredible warrior play.
1 damage.
I know, man.
Lethal.
Where's forcing that? Just right now.
Seriously. It makes my my hot, like, raging warrior blood burn.
it is the first one we've seen so far all tournament.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that he's doing so well with warrior. Maybe he'll even 3-0 this match with warrior, and at the same time, the other players maybe didn't even consider it as part of their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, warrior's been scarce, that's for sure.
So something I want to touch on, we've seen some like really different Shaman builds so far this tournament than some other things we've seen. Like we've seen double Doomhammer, we've seen double Lava Burst, and something we haven't seen a lot of is like Unbound Elemental and Manatide Totem. So this is like a more traditional Shaman build. I'm curious if those other builds are sort of meant to be able to have a better matchup versus control, or if they're making some sort of sacrifices. I haven't experimented with double Doomhammer probably ever.
I haven't played a deck with double Doomhammer for like at least a year right now, and that was like a really aggro Shaman back when I did it. So it's
speed him up.
Yeah, this new burst Shaman that we're seeing, you know, some of the players playing this tournament is really something else, and I can't wait to like get a chance to like throw it into my account and like play a couple games with it here and there. But this, you're right, is much more of a classic sort of mid-rangey Shaman. He's got the Unbound Elementals in here, and this is actually the type of Shaman that I personally think is maybe a little bit more scary for Warrior, because it is that classic Shaman that so many Warriors were worried about back in the day. That's why they started running Baron Geddon for a while. It's been out for, you know, a month or two.
Yep.
But back when this Shaman deck was big, Warriors needed to switch it up to beat it.
This is going to be a really tough turn for Tides also. This is almost certainly a Manatide Totem.
Yeah.
And he has no current way to deal with it. This could get so much. This Manatide Totem could literally win the game.
Well, that's a tricky part about running so many legendaries, is that you get those hands once in a while that's so top-end heavy that you have a hard time if your opponent gets a fast early game start, which Shaman does a lot. So let's see, 4 mana right now for Tides. Reels, what do you think? You can't really go unstable right now. Do you go unstable armor? What do you think?
Maybe you do. You don't really have a good option here. There are 2 choices, and neither of them are amazing. You could go with either one and have it be not wrong. Unstable Ghoul is the more immediately threatening to at least the Unbound Elemental that is in play, but the Acolyte of Pain threatens it as well. The risk with the Acolyte of Pain is that you may be playing it in a situation where it just ends up getting Earthshocked or something.
Right, or Lightning Bolted even. Something that only gets you 1 or no draws.
Right, and your hand is not something that you're excited about.
Yeah.
You're holding Sylvanas, you're holding Ragnaros, you're holding Alexstrasza. Those are all great cards that don't do anything on turn 4, 5, 6 even.
Well, here's an easy decision for Kuhaku. He goes ahead and Lightning Bolts that Acolyte of Pain. So yeah, just denying Tides to just 1 draw, and then able to buff the Unbound too.
Yep, well, at least he did get 1 card from the Acolyte. He gets 2 chances for something to deal with that Manatide Totem, and he doesn't find anything.
So the 37 mana over the cards in this game on turn 5.
Wow.
Not the spot you want to be in, especially with his options. He's
nice.
Like, Sludge Belcher's fine. It's like Lotheb's fine, but it's like I feel like the game you've lost so much potential ground. Like we saw in the early games, the weapons, even though he was very inefficiently using his weapons, they were keeping him in the game. In this game, he doesn't have them. So like not only does he not have them now, but he's going to be drawing them later when they start becoming less and less useful as the course of the game rolls out too.
Yeah, I think Lotheb is a solid play here too, because I mean, it's not something that's going to get hexed, obviously. It's something that may make your opponent trade a few of his minions with to stay back in the game. I mean, the one thing you don't want to see in this case is Flame Tongue Totem, but luckily for him, it's not in Kohaku's hand right now.
Well, this is the second worst one for him, because this is going to continue to protect this Manatide Totem. And he's been drawing 2 cards a turn to his opponent's 1.
Yeah, just ignoring Lotheb too.
Yeah, like this is like a lot of times in Hearthstone, it's just board pressure is how you win the game. It's like you have a game plan where you're like, going into turn X, I'm going to use all my cards and then I'm going to blow them up. But sometimes you can win by just having more options than your opponent, and they don't have any way to take control of the board again. And this is one of those games where I feel like that's what we're going to see. His hand's just chocked full of so many good cards.
You know, I mean, when a Manatide Totem lives for this long, you really starts getting scared as Warrior. Like, all right, this one's going to be a tough one to win.
He may not even have a great way to climb back in at this point. His hand, like you were mentioning, is just choked with tons and tons of mana of cards that he may never get a chance to even play. Mana-Tide Totem is the type of card that if they get one card and you kill it, all right, cool. If they get 2 cards, you're like, ah. If they get 3 or more, you're freaking out. And Tides is definitely freaking out a bit right now.
Should be. So, I mean, the thing is, I'm looking at his hand right now, and I'm thinking, am I desperate enough just to do Sylvanas? Just something to break up the momentum of Shaman, because Sylvanas is something that you need to use to sort of get them off their game plan. And yeah, it might get Hex, it might get Earthshock, but at this point in the game, it's desperation. And look at this. I mean, 2 Earthshocks and a Hex in his opponent's hand. He had to do it, but it's kind of inevitable what we're about to see next.
Yeah, he's just got every answer in the world that he needs.
Yeah, he really does. He can clear this board so easily this turn.
I feel like Hex really does a good job of keeping your pressure going too.
Yep.
Because like, as much as you don't want to do it, like I think burning an Earthshock on Lothep is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'd rather use Lightning Bolt though. Huh. Wow, look at this. He's going to save Hex. I guess Hex, he wants to save it for something like Karen or maybe even a taunt and just try to keep pushing.
Yeah,
he's putting together a lot of damage too.
Just going to try to go for face here, yeah. Yep. I mean, the thing is if he gets his opponent down to 20 or so, then if he draws into a Rockbiter, you could do 10 damage with Rockbiter and Doomhammer. And so that combined with what he's got on the board could lead to a fast kill.
Well, Spellbreaker's about 17 turns late.
Yep. Way, way late at this point. Is it even worth playing this turn?
Oh, I mean, you have to do something. You can't just keep letting the totem go. Like, how do you actually kill your opponent if you keep letting this go?
What about, I don't know. They've drawn so many cards at this point anyway. He's going to silence that so he can run Sylvanas into it, I suppose. Finally, time to get rid of that. And Armor Smith, okay.
He's thinking about how to actually respond to this too, because he's just looking at the damage coming in his minions. I don't think it's unreasonable to kill the Yeti before you kill the totem here.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you kill the totem now, it's kind of too late. It's already drawn enough cards to be devastating, right? Whereas if you kill the 4/5, yeah, you deny some damage, and that may actually be more valuable. I think you're right there.
I think he's so unlikely.
It's a tough choice, though,
to be able to kill his opponent from 30 without some crazy circumstance happening where killing the totem makes sense.
Ooh.
I think if you kill anything but the totem, I think it's maybe even a concession. You're trying to delay the inevitable.
Yeah, a little bit.
If you kill the totem, you're saying maybe all of your hand is minions that will die to Brawl. Yeah. Maybe all of your hand is lightning bolts that don't kill me from 22. Maybe there's some way that
it was all lightning bolts, he'd kill him from 22, right? There's 7 of them in hand. But I think Alex Straza's got to be his game plan here moving forward. And again, he has no options. It's just Sludge Belcher. It's like the only card he can play. The unstable goal. He's got to hope he gets to a point where he can play Alex Straza. He's not dead on the counter attack and can actually try to make a push for the win. But just look at this hand. Like, where do you even go from here? It's like you have so many options. This is one of the parts where you really see a lot of the top Hearthstone players shine too, is when they have so many options and they're still capable of finding the best one. Like, they're still using their poor cards before they're using their more powerful ones. And this is exactly what we're going to be seeing here too.
Yeah, and he's able to clear this board really easily. Yeah, I think maybe the defender running into Sylvanas would have been a little bit better there.
No, he should have killed the Armor Smith first.
Oh, of course, that too, yeah. Well, Shield Slam.
Slight misplay. I don't think it's going to matter that much this game, though.
Shouldn't be too game impacting, no. Man, Tides is like 1 mana away from being able to start a little bit of a comeback maybe. There's so much on the board, though.
I think this is a Shield Slam on the Azure Drake turn.
You'd, Oh, okay.
Yeah, it seems like Sludge Belcher here, Shield Slam the Azure Drake.
Yeah.
At least on board, your opponent can't deal with the Sludge Belcher immediately. And that's about as good as you can ask for at this point.
I think you want him to actually start hexing stuff too. You want him to try to make his own push because he's gotten so many cards, and now you're starting to climb back in the game a little bit. Like maybe he feels like he's panicking because he had this Mana-Tide totem out for so long, and he's like, wow, my opponent's still clawing back into this game, and Tides hasn't done almost anything, so he knows there's a bunch of legendaries in that hand.
Oh yeah, of course. 2 hexes though right now for Kuhaku. And he knows those big legendaries are coming, you know, so it makes it so scary to hex. He's like, is there any way I can deal with this without having to use it? And the answer is yes, he can. But I think Doomhammer's a good way, yeah.
That's price to win. Yep, yeah, I like this.
Rockbiter on that. Yeah, so he's going to be able to eliminate the armor of Tides of Time as well, too, which is helpful because we know Tides has a shield. Well, he had a shield slam, but there's another one coming, too.
Well, really smart play here, too, by the way. using the damage, or using his own life total instead of the defenders. So that way, Unstable Ghoul or Whirlwind or something won't kill it.
Yep, I agree. I mean, you really need to be as conservative as possible. Okay, so he does have cool Taskmaster.
All right, here we go. These next couple turns are going to spell out the game because Tides is going to run out of gas.
Yeah, all right. So Lotheb the draw. There's a Hex on Alex Strasza, of course. I think you're going to be doing that.
It would have been nice if we could have seen something like Harrison last turn. That would have made the game real interesting.
Wow, this game would have been way different if you just...
It's like every match today, everyone wants to see Harrison get a Doomhammer.
Gosh, am I the only person that doesn't like seeing Doomhammer? I feel so bad for the guy with Doomhammer.
It is.
I've been that
pretty
guy,
insane.
and it's the most miserable. Their whole hand just fills up. He just lost like 12 points of damage.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
in this particular game, though, where we're like, oh, man, Manatide Totem drew like 5 cards, literally. It's
even
going to be an impossible game to win. Like
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
All right, so I think you're getting very desperate at this point. Like,
yeah, he wants a brawl
how much Ragnaros RNG are you willing to rely on at this point? Because this is a circumstance where a lot of times you see players leverage that RNG. Again, in the first game with the Warlock, he had 2 Mountain Giants that he could hit, and then his opponent's face is the worst option. Yeah. What is the good option on this board if you play it? Is it just your opponent's face and hope it goes face again? Or
maybe you don't have a great option. And maybe just playing Sludge Belcher is your best option. But it's not terribly exciting. I'll give it that.
And the Sludge Belcher, too, it would just get eliminated somehow, you know?
Oh, geez.
It would.
Oh, boy.
Oh, he's going for it.
Your inner Abaz.
This work needs to be done.
Where's it going to go? 6 choices.
Well, that's not a bad one, but not a good one. Yeah. Nothing's good on the board to hit. That's the thing. I think he just wanted it to go straight to the... Is it enough damage if he goes straight to the face of 4? And he's still got to chew through 3 taunts.
He's got to draw a Rock Better Weapon, man. He's got to get the 10 damage from Doomhammer there to finish this one. Yeah, he's got some stuff to deal with. Let's see. You
got to Lotheb this turn, right? Like, Brawl is like one of the only things that kills you. You have, even if your opponent's going to Brawl, you want to prevent it from being like this big Brawl where he plays something and then follows up with like Sludge Belcher. That's like the one spot you don't want to be doing it in, right?
I'd say you could even... Okay, so he does go ahead and Hex. I was wondering if he could even skip that, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you've got so many choices on the board, but he will Hex.
All right. Yeah. Well, Brawl's got to be drawn here. Yep. Even at 10 mana.
Yeah, it needs to be a Brawl. If he doesn't draw a Brawl, he's basically dead, or literally dead. And Cruel Taskmaster, not going to do it. I guess you play the Lotheb. Do you also play the Unstable Ghoul, just get maximum taunt out there?
I think you just got to do everything you can, I think.
Yeah. Unstable Ghoul, Sludge Belcher, armor up, cross your fingers. Cross your toes.
My fingers are crossed.
7 plus...
just so much.
13, 17 damages on board.
2, 4, 7, a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Can he close it out this turn? He's got Lightning Storm and Lightning Bolt in his hand. Yeah, so he should be able to clear this enough and keep damage on the board to finish it off.
Yeah, I think this has got to be enough.
He's got Fire Elemental too, so he's got like tons of damage sitting in his hand too. 6 actually from Lightning Bolt and Fire Elemental if he wants to use it that way. Probably has to use the Lightning Bolt on something on the board to help clear, but we'll see.
He's got 10 mana available, so he can just actually play all 3 of those damage spells too.
Yeah, he can.
I'm not sure if it matters what order he does this in. I think it's just basically lethal every time.
All right. Well, there's a Lightning Storm.
Yeah, this is just way over.
Yeah.
Way overboard.
Yep, 12 to deal with. And there it is, Fire Elemental, and that's going to combine with everything else he's got. He's got that final mana with Lightning Bolt, and that will finish it. And wow, Kuhaku not dead yet. He's back in it with the Shaman deck.
Very well played game, but again, it's like a lot of that was just on the back of Tides having such a heavy hand that there was not really much you could do about it.
It was a tough one to play. It was definitely a rough game for Tides.
He didn't draw a single weapon that would have made a huge difference early on in the game, getting something 2-for-1 going early. Certainly taking out that Manatide Totem sooner. At the end of the game, his opponent had 1 card remaining in hand, and that was...
Well, I feel like it's really on the draw for the Priest. If you don't draw Cabal Shadow Priest, which we see in the opening hand for Tides, so he's going to have that this game, and I think it's worth a keep. If you don't draw that, it hurts. If you don't draw Shadow Madness, it hurts. The thing is that if you lose some of that early power, if you don't get, if you run Death Rattle and you don't get that going, even Holy Nova isn't going to help you that much because it doesn't take down Feral Spirits or Flame Tongue Totem for that matter.
He actually didn't keep the Cabal Shadow Priest, too.
Are
you surprised by that, Reels?
A little bit. It is a card that I've found myself keeping more and more often. I used to mulligan it away. I'm like, oh, this card costs 6. Get out of here. I want something to play early. But it's such a swing card in the matchup that I found myself keeping it more and more. I don't know if that means that it's correct, but I've noticed that.
It's like the only 6-mana card I would really consider keeping in opening hand. There's not very many that are over like 4 that you really seriously look at holding on to.
You don't keep 5 and 6 mana cards in your opening hand that often?
Not too often, no. But then again, I play a ton of aggro decks, so I don't have a lot in my deck
so you
anyway.
Even have 5 and 6 cards.
I shouldn't be drawing. It should be all leper gnomes. Yeah. Well, looking at this, the Shaman does have 2 lightning bolts, so Kuhaku has some ways to deal with some of the maybe early pressure, but this looks like straight up control priest. I mean, look at Tides' hand. We've got Thoughtsteal, Pyromancer, Silence, 2 Sludge Belchers. I mean, this is about as control as it gets.
The Unbound Elemental is back.
Yeah, he is.
And interesting, we see that there's Yeti as well.
Whoa, those are 2 very...
He Thoughtstole a Mana Tide and a Hex.
Those are 2 very good steals.
Crazy.
Doomhammer already, though.
Nice one.
And also Chillwind Yeti. This is going to be a lot of pressure. This game is very open to both of these players in the moment. Tides has got a ton of cards in his hand, but this early pressure is kind of went unanswered. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised to see a Hex here, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's not a card you'd expect to see often, and it certainly can handle the early pressure, can slow the Shaman down, and that's what he wants to. And yeah, I think you called it.
Well, Sludge Belcher is a good one too, but he wants that coin for that Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah.
He's looking to sweep the board out with that, and that's why he's using this Hex here instead of using Sludge. If that's what he does, instead of using the Sludge Belcher. He's looking for a really big Wild, or Pyromancer turn. He's got Silence in his hand, coin, Power Word, Shield. That's a lot of AoE damage from 1 card.
And Silence could be pretty valuable against that Unbound a little bit later if it starts to ramp up a bit.
Earthshock's not a bad draw.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Do you just Doomhammer here?
What do you think?
Doomhammer looks pretty good.
If you look at his plays, not a whole lot else is too appealing.
You'd like to play your Fire Elemental on 6, but Doomhammer's pretty good.
You know what? Actually, I like doing that. I like just waiting because he's not going to really draw any cards off of this unless he wants to heal your totem, and that's going to tempo him. He's already got a ton of cards as it is. Like, how big of a threat is that 1/3? I actually think I would have liked to see him wait.
You know, now that I think more about it, having that Fire Elemental in the hand, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it is always good to leave that turn 6 open for that Fire Elemental if possible.
Mind Control gets picked up.
Ooh, all right. You think he runs the Ysera in this too?
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's really only the Killer Priest, isn't it? You don't see it in controls often, I think.
I mean, I've played it from time to time. It just kind of depends. It depends. I think Ysera is one of those cards you put in your deck if you expect you see a lot of Priest.
Well, it's good in a lot of control versus control, you know. But this tournament, geez, wow, so much aggro coming out of these guys. But
I think it's a good decision. Aggro is another really good deck to play, I think, when you feel like the edge isn't quite as large as it might normally be if you're just playing some games on ladder and you're one of the top players. Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense to be playing aggro because it's just how many mistakes is your opponent going to be making?
Right.
So I think that factors into a lot of these decisions. He actually is going to use Silence here, which I am very surprised by. He just doesn't want this Unbound Elemental to get out of control this turn.
I think that's understandable, though. I mean, and it's so easy for that to happen, right? But 3-5, is that the time to really do it? I guess Kuhaku decides, or rather, TidesofTime decides it is. Can't really argue with the guy.
5 more damage coming across. This is getting kind of scary if you're sitting in Tides' seat, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations, though, where if you look, he hasn't really drawn a lot of that early removal that Priest really kind of relies on against Shaman. And, you know, this is one of those situations where I actually, if I had to pick a Priest deck to play against Shaman, I would actually go for the Death Rattle Priest over the Control Priest, honestly. Because having that early pressure going, you can trade minions rather than rely on spells. And then as you draw into the Shadow Madness and into the Holy Nova, you're in a much better position to use those. So as far as priests go, I don't know. What would you favor, Reels?
I have played a lot of the Undertaker Priest. I haven't played as much of the Control lately. That's something I used to play before. And this is actually a really interesting line by Tides. He figures he's not under enough pressure to need to do anything crazy. So he's just going to hold on to everything and cycle through.
Yeah, I suppose why not? I mean, it's one of the cards from Thoughtsteal. It's a Mana Tide totem that his opponent certainly wasn't expecting to see.
This does kind of fog a little bit, or ends up being, you know, just draw a card, gain 3 life. And I guess that's enough right now. He figures he's just not under enough pressure. And
shield block.
Yep.
A little bit of a shield block. Yeah, there you go.
I actually like playing Azure Drake here and toteming, and then using my 3 damage on the board to kill this instead of Fire Elemental.
I want to save that for the direct damage that comes later on.
Yeah. Of course, the trade-off is you're losing access to direct spell power. And how important is that spell power?
The Fire Elemental is your most threatening. And right now, your opponent didn't have to do anything too insane.
Big push.
So now the Fire Elemental really does put serious threat on the board.
This is major. Wow, Shadow Word Death needed to be drawn there. Had he drawn Shadow Word Death, this is a pretty crazy turn. Wait, he can actually...
He could still draw it.
He can still sweep this board, can't he?
Well,
if he plays the other Wild Pyromancer?
See, oh, he draws into another Power Word Shield. That's handy. Coin. All right.
Oh, yeah, no, he can use the Nova and kill everything.
Oh, okay, that works too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, very nice.
Very well played turn.
Well played.
Really well. Wow, and Tides, just like that, seizes back that board control.
Hex is such a bad draw right now, too. Your opponent's got nothing on the board.
It's a lot of removal.
Just gotta some gas.
Got to go fishing with Azure Drake.
Okay, well, that's a guy.
That is a guy.
That's a big one. That's Alakir the Windlord.
But still...
Not just any guy. That's Alakir the Windlord.
Almost all of his hand is still Earthshocks and Lightning Storms.
Yeah. He's really close on damage, though. He's got 8 on the board, 6 on his hand. That's 14 damage. Tides at 17. He's got to do something about all this.
Oh,
Shadow Menace doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah, a little bit late. Yep.
I feel like Sludge Belcher's hitting the board here.
Yeah, I think so. There's not a lot of other great plays for Tides at the moment.
This game, I still think is still. I think it's still in Shaman's favor by a slight amount, especially because of that Alakir draw, rather.
Well, it's a card that can shoot through Sludge Belcher pretty quickly, and I mean he's also got another Hex too, so
Earthshock as well.
Earthshock as well. Yeah. Lightning Storm even. He's got a lot of removal to deal with this stuff. Oh, okay. So putting up possibly the injured Blade Master here.
That could be so disastrous too. If say he rolls a Spell Power Totem, and then a Lightning Storm, potentially 5 points of damage.
Well, it's really easy to clear if he does that.
Yeah. How badly do you need the threat versus needing the Northshire, though? Like, Lightning Storm's got to be on his mind at this point. Your opponent just did, like, Azure Drake, Totem, and then nothing else. Those cards have been in his hand like the whole game.
I'd be really worried that I wasn't going to get any draws off this Northshire Cleric, and I mean, I feel like he could kind of use them right now, you know?
Yeah.
If you do roll a Spell Power Totem here, do you think you would just Lightning Storm outright, or do you think you would Earthshock the Belcher first?
I'm not sure that I'd try to roll a Totem here first. But you just picked up a Lightning Bolt too, so you have a little bit more reach. Like, how much merit is there to just pushing damage against your opponent? Of course, if you play Alakir, you do have to worry some about something like Shadow Menace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Alakir
or Mind Control.
Pretty vulnerable to that. Or Mind Control.
Is Tides going into 10 mana next turn?
I think he's going into 9.
Yeah, he's going. He had the coin, right? Yeah, so Tides is going into 9 mana next turn. So this is like, if Alakir is going to get Mind Controlled, this is the turn it can't get Mind Controlled. I think I like Earthshock and just pushing here.
Just pushing for a little bit more damage.
He's going to get. He's going to get punished by it, but it's like I think this is the right play. Like, this looks really bad because we can see Tides' hand. He's got like a pretty strong counterplay to this, but I think this is the right play at the end of the day.
Oh, he almost passed.
You don't want to miss that damage. That's really important right now. Yikes. That healing totem being really important here too. Actually, you know what? The healing totem's a liability right now because normally he wouldn't be able to kill the Alakir with Shadow Madness, but now because the Drake actually has 1 more health, he can run the Alakir into it twice and kill it.
That is actually hilarious. Yeah,
well, he's not going to play the Wild Pyro. He could play the Wild Pyro and do sort of the same thing.
Yeah, but now he just gets to hold the Wild Pyro instead.
That's true.
Yeah, he's just going to end up with a 4/5 Blade Master this turn. And then the next turn he's going to have Mind Control. I think this game is, I think this is the swing.
He's going to give it a try, hovering over Alakir with that Mind Control, or not Mind Control, Shadow Madness rather.
And he's seen 1 Rockbiter already, right?
Yeah.
So he's not super worried about just double Rockbiter and I'm dead.
Yeah, I wonder what he's concerned about. If I mean, you can't not Shadow Madness this, right? Like, you have to kill these minions right now.
And you do have some mana to work with afterwards. Like you said, he can get, the injured Blade Master out there. He can put Power Word Shield on it. He can draw another card. So just wants to make absolutely sure, because he knows he's going into Mind Control the next turn, but you can't let Alakir live that long.
Yeah.
That would be
you can't.
Suicidal.
Going past this turn is, I mean, this is your swing turn. This is what you've been waiting for the whole game.
Yep.
You already cleared the board once, but that didn't swing the game. It just restabilized it. But I think this is really swinging it back in his favor.
You really can't argue it taking this time. I mean, you've got a lot of time to decide on a move. And
your follow-up's really small, too. You don't have a ton of things to do.
Well, there's not much time left now. He's got to decide what he wants to do.
He needs
time to attack.
Oh boy. Does he have time to do all this stuff? He's got to hurry up here. Whoa, come on. Oh boy. I don't think he's going to have time to.
I think he thought somehow Alec here would live.
Wow. Why did he do it that way?
Yeah.
Why did he do it that way? He could have he could have actually just attacked the Azure Drake twice.
He could have cleared it, yeah.
Yeah, and now he just left his Pyromancer vulnerable.
Well, now he's got a 3/4 Pyromancer instead of a 4/5 injured Blade Master.
I think I'd rather have the Blade Master.
And he no longer has the Pyro in hand. So.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty big misstep.
I think the Blade Master would be better at pulling out the hex from your opponent's hand possibly too, and that's really what you want to see, because you're going to be drawing into better stuff. You don't want to get it hexed.
It does look like he pretty much just waited a little bit too long to decide what he wanted to do, and thought something was going to work a way that it didn't work out.
Oh, he's going to leave the Wild Pyro on the board too.
Wow,
it's very good news for Tides.
These guys are playing so conservatively with their cards right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't get a Spell Power Totem. That's really what he was looking for. We probably would have seen an Execute, I imagine, if he would have gotten the ability to kill it with one Lightning Bolt. But
I do have to say, this could be an example of like the fatigue setting in two. Tides is actually, he was at WCA, and he was on the flight with me back here.
That's a good point.
And I don't know how well he slept last night, but I didn't sleep basically at all. So, when you start getting that fatigued, and there's this pressure on you, and you're still playing potentially for a lot of money.
Yeah.
That all of those things keep weighing on your mind.
This was a really nice play. I think you even heal yourself here.
Wow, he's going to heal the Pyromancer. He's very comfortable. He's so comfortable. I think this is a pretty strong read here from Tides, too. He's very comfortable with his own life total. So there is a little bit of risk. Like if his opponent had drawn Rockbiter here, he actually would have died. But I think he understands his game plan overall, which is just he has to keep the board stabilized because he doesn't have much left, so he can easily lose control of it. So say like he didn't heal his minion here, and his opponent like rolled Spell Power and then Lightning Stormed or something. He could just have lost his entire board, and that's what he's trying to prevent right now. So the risk that he's taking of dying is so that it's like for his long-term advantage.
So this turn for Kuhaku, he's got a couple different options, but I would imagine Feral Spirits is going to be hitting the board. Lightning Storm, not really going to give him a lot of benefit, but he could always roll to see what totem he gets.
Yeah. He might not be able to Feral Spirit this turn. He might have to do something like roll a totem, Lightning Bolt the 4/6, and double Lightning Storm.
Yeah, I think that as crazy as that sounds, I don't think it's an unreasonable play.
He could also be willing to use up Doomhammer charges, but it's Alec here, it's gone.
Gosh, I don't like hexing here.
You can tell he really wants to save that Doomhammer, though. He's looking for that second Rockbiter because his opponent doesn't have a lot of health. Like we said, if he draws Rockbiter, he could have won. That's 16 damage with 2 Lightning Bolts and then 10 from Rockbiter.
This is another one of those spots, too, where Shaman's like, it really struggles against Priest because all these removal spells are like just a little bit less efficient than you want it to be. Like you want to be hexing something bigger. Lightning Bolt's only 3 damage when your opponent's got 3/4s. They have a minion that has 3 health, but it can just go above 3 health because of their hero power, so it's like never in range of Lightning Storm. Look at this, he's overloaded for 6 this turn just to clear this board. And
he does clear.
He does clear, which is important.
Yeah, he does it in a way that preserves a Lightning Bolt, but gives up health on his face and gives up Rockbiter damage. So
Hex going to be pulled out here. So the start of something good, but Tides actually kind of needs his opponent to play a really good minion.
If he draws Rockbiter.
He would have been happy with something like a Cabal Shadow Priest there, certainly.
Yeah.
All right, so got that Flame Tongue Totem.
Do you think he's regretting mulliganing that now?
Maybe, yeah. Possibly.
Do you really
Spell
have to
Power
hex?
Totem?
I think you have to hex.
No, Spell Power Totem doesn't end the game, but if he had enough mana, Spell Power Totem would end the game. He's 2 damage off lethal.
He's got 16 with the flame.
16.
If he rolls a Spell Power Totem, he's got 16 with the Flame Tongue, the 2 Wolves, and then the Lightning Bolts, and then he also has 4 more from the Doomhammer. I wasn't even counting his damage. I was just looking at it I was like, how does he deal with this 5/5 now?
Well, now he's got a Hex Sylvanas. I mean, you can't let that sit around. That's for sure. So, yeah, Hex will be the play. And he can still put a little bit of damage onto Tides of Time. All in all, I mean, still not looking that bad.
Oh, that's 1 charge on the Doomhammer. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he attacked once the turn before to clear.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Oh, Dark Cultist. Well, I mean, it's a 3/4 on the board. He heals himself, but not the strongest turn ever. He is up to 18 health, though. Oh, is that enough? I believe
he was too short last time. I think that makes him with lethal this time.
Double Rockbiter, 2 Lightning Bolts, and the final strike from Doomhammer should be enough. Yep, there's 10 more from on the board.
Wow.
1 hit just barely does it. This Shaman is coming back, guys. Wow.
very strong play, I have to say. He made the push at the right turn every single turn, even down to the Alakir. The Alakir got Shadow Madness and cleared his own board because he played Alakir.
Yeah.
But that push ended up being just enough. He was able to...
He sees the life taps early on. He's going to be pretty happy about that, I think.
And look at this keep. He keeps Lotheb in the opener.
Yep.
He's got Twilight Drake. He's got Mountain Giant. He's got Lotheb. He said, these are my keeps. He's going to life tap for a couple turns, and the game will go from there. And he says this is good enough to start it off.
Yeah, here's something else I want to know. Why he picks up Urshock after his one card mulligan, super important. But he kept the rest of his hand, and he's like, these are all early game cards. So I'm curious. We saw Tides knew that he was playing. His opponent was playing Handlock in the first game. Does Kuhaku know the same thing about Tides?
I don't know. That's the question. I mean, he did kind of mulligan more towards Zoo, which honestly, it is kind of what you need to do. If you don't know, you have to mulligan towards Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Well, he's got a lot of action in his hand regardless.
Sure does. We were thinking about coining into that Unbound. Would you just go ahead and play the Spider here instead?
No, I like the Unbound.
Yeah.
Unbound is pretty nice.
It's something that they need to deal with, and I think after seeing that life tap, he's like, all right, you've either got the world's worst hand as Zoo, or you're playing Handlock. So
I've been on the turn one play, turn 2 life tap with Zoo.
We all have
so
that.
often. I'm just like, oh come on, 2 Doomguard, 2 Soulfires, and 2 Defenders of Argus.
We got like 2 Doomguards and a Power Overwhelming. You're like, no, why am I playing this horrible deck? Well, yeah, he does go ahead and go with the Spiders, and there we go. Now gets to play the Unbound on a little bit better of a curve and saves that coin, which is pretty important.
He saves the coin, but what it does is it means that right now, Tides of Time could play something like his Mountain Giant and use the Soulfire to kill the Unbound Elemental, which is something he would not have been able to do if his opponent had coined out the Unbound Elemental last turn and played the Wolves.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Losing Shadow Flame is unfortunate.
That does hurt a little bit.
His whole hand's good, though. Like, what do you want to do? Ancient Watcher or Earthen Ring Farseer?
You know, out of that hand, Soulfire, Hellfire, those might have been the most, not usable. And the Mountain Giant gets hexed, of course, right away. But you get rid of 1 hex. He's still got a lot to bring. There's a Molten Giant.
Yep. I like tapping Earthen Ring Farseer here, too. Start building back to the Twilight Drake points, because you just use the Soulfire.
That's a good point, too. Yeah, you can start to make sure that those Twilight Drakes have as much health as they can. Have as many cards in your hand for that.
Sometimes they don't have all the right answers. When you're playing Handlock against Shaman, sometimes you make a Giant, they don't have a Hex ready. That's a huge problem. This time he does have the Hex ready, and if he does decide to play a Twilight Drake at any point soon, there's going to be an Urshock waiting. But after that, the game kind of opens up.
He actually chooses to play Lotheb.
I was wondering if he was going to go with that, too, because he wants to try to, deny his opponent the ability to play maybe Feral Spirits this turn, possibly, which is in the hand for Kuhaku, but is it worth it? I mean, because other than denying Feral Spirits, I can't really think of what you're going for.
I think he's just playing it because it's the 5/5.
It is a 5/5. I mean, it's a big body on the board, but I mean, it does let him trade fairly effectively here, too.
Oh, this is another. This
that's good.
I like that. Yeah. We missed this a little bit. He wants to get value from these Earthen Ring Farseers, and he doesn't want health value. He wants actual, like, on-the-board presence value. So this is just 6 health for 3 mana. That's a big deal.
Well, that's a mistake a lot of newer Handlock players have, is they'll keep only using the Earthen Ring Farseers on themselves, where it is really good to use it on, like, a Twilight Drake that got hit for a little bit. Use it on Lotheb, as we see right here. You can get a lot of board control value out of those Earthen Ring Farseers. Let's see. So 1 hex already used. No other hex in the hand for Kuhaku at the moment. It's a tough turn. I mean, he could Rock Biter his Spider and run that into Lotheb, but
he was reaching immediately for Blood Mage and Lightning Bolt as the turn started.
I think that's going to look pretty appealing too, yeah.
It looks like that is what he continues to go with, and he's willing to use the Rock Biter to kill off the 3/3.
He still gets a totem out of this too, so it's
still
not
gets
a bad
totem.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
He's thinking about playing Feral Spirit.
Okay.
This is very aggressive.
This is going to draw Hellfire
this
for sure.
This will almost certainly draw Hellfire.
It's a lot of overload too.
His opponent will draw a card and will leave 2 1/1s, but it's still, he'll be massively overloaded. He'll basically just have to play another Feral Spirit
will
next
it
turn.
leave 2 1/1s? It's true, Nightbreak Owl.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe
what's
not.
more important, the 1/1s or the card that you get them?
That's a good question. It's a really important one too. And I think it's probably the. I don't know. I don't think the 1/1s matter that much. I think the card.
I lean
honestly,
towards the card personally.
The card doesn't really matter that much. Like maybe you just want your owl in your hand.
Maybe you just want to give them both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Saving that owl, for something like, well, I don't know.
You have to kill the owl, too. It's not like you get to keep the 2-1 and have to stick around and trade with something.
It's just purely a silence at this point.
I mean, if you think about it, what do you save this for? You know, what would the silence be going on if it wasn't going on one of these?
I think, actually, now that I think about it, the 1-1s are way more important because of Flame Tongue Totem.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Or, you know, possibly Defender Vargas. You know, you still do see a lot of that in Shaman.
He's hesitant, though.
It's a concern.
He needs to take his time this turn and really plan out what's going to happen because his hand is already so big that he can really start to think about what like turn 8, turn 9, turn 10. And then your opponent has a few cards. So you're not as concerned with how strong he's going to be following this up. And as you said, he's overloaded for 3 going into his next turn, too.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely something that you can kind of like sit on his handlock and be pretty confident with whatever play you make.
I don't like this, though.
Ooh. What's he going to do? Twilight Drake?
I do get it.
On the board.
Yeah, I understand. It's like you can still bait out a lot more stuff this way. When you take this long, too, it makes it look like you kind of don't have Hellfire.
Yeah.
Because so many people just would have like instantly cast Hellfire here. Ancient Watcher, what the heck? He's got to do something, though.
You got to pick.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, I mean, the thing is that this is potentially a removal, and at the very least, you know it'll pull an Earth Shock out of their hand, which is what it's going to do here. I mean, it's going to get Earth Shock, no question. But at least that's 1 down, you know?
He is letting himself go very low to do it.
Oh, the Molten Giants.
Yeah.
He will get Molten Giant. He has Taunt Givers. And if this Earthshock is gone, there's basically Hex and then 1 more Earthshock to clear through Taunt. So this is a very precarious situation for Kuhaku.
Well, early on in the game, you feel really good when you get an Earth Shock on a Twilight Drake that gets played on like turn 4, or they coin into it or something like that. Of course. But at this point in the game, you kind of start to get suspicious. It's like, all right, why do you want me to obviously Earth Shock this? What else is coming? You know?
Why was this your best play?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. 9 cards in hand.
Of all those cards,
I was like, well, he's got 9 cards in hand. That's why it doesn't necessarily have to be his best play. Sometimes like a second best play, which sets up for later, is the best play.
So he doesn't play the other Feral Spirit, which actually will be very important for him.
I agree. You shouldn't play the other one either. And, you know, he's thinking about this. He may deliberately not attack here, and that's exactly what he's going to do because he's worried about Molten Giants. He's actually even thinking about what happens if my opponent Hellfires, too. Like, how low is that going to take him? So he's already thought about all these circumstances, and, of course, this is the turn that Tides was setting up for. And Ancient Watcher going to come down instead, but wow. Kohaku's got to put together something. There's an Alec here. There's a Rock Biter to go along with his Alec here. That's 12 points of damage.
You're right, but I think he's only going into 8 mana, so he can't quite do it right now.
He can't set up the Feral Spirit Zone. He's got a Lightning Bolt to go along with this. Like, this is a lot of damage that we're going to be seeing in the next couple turns. If Tides doesn't get some really strong taunts set up, I mean, that is a huge amount of damage.
I think he is going to get some pretty strong taunts set up.
Well, you know, he's got Molten Giant, Ancient Watchers, you know. Those are 8/8 taunt, 4/5 taunt. Those are
that's nothing.
Yeah,
just an 8/8.
I fought through bigger. Yeah,
I've had worse.
Look at Tides. He's so nervous about what his opponent has at the end of this game.
I mean, this is a really delicate turn.
Oh yeah.
Kohaku's in the tank too. Yeah.
8 mana, a lot can happen, and I mean, he's seen these burst shamans that have been in this tournament too. So you never know now. In this tournament this weekend, you never know when someone's gonna like double lava burst you or something. And like honestly, double lava burst, double lightning bolt would kill it, which is impossible this game, right? But like, it's something people are going to be a little bit afraid of for the rest of the weekend, I think.
3 straight to the dome. Tides is now in Molten Giant range.
Yep.
If he draws the second one, Mortal Coil, not a good one at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, he could big game hunter his own Molten Giant too. That's a great play.
Oh yeah, dude. Get rid of that thing. You don't need it anyway, right? All right, so Twilight Drake, possibly an option here. Doesn't really have the greatest target for Mortal Coil, unfortunately. And keep in mind, he can always heal up a little bit with that Earthen Ring Far Spirit, or Farseer too.
He's got a tough choice here in front of him. He doesn't have a way to deal with the Fire Elemental immediately. And I have to imagine he would be pretty uncomfortable life tapping from here. He could. It is an option. He wouldn't die, but...
The tricky part is that he really could have used that Owl from last turn to silence that Ancient Watcher. That would have made it much, much easier to kill the Fire Elemental, but, you know, hindsight's 20/20, right?
He's just going to taunt up the Ancients.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with this. I mean...
if he's doing this, is he just healing himself? Why wouldn't he play the Twilight Drake before doing all this?
Ooh, that's a good question. He must be planning on healing himself then. Yeah.
Yep.
That is a little bit... He's obviously more scared. But it may have been right. It may have been right to play
this is
the Twilight
really
Drake
close to lethal, by the way.
Yeah.
6,
9,
3.
Yep.
Yeah, he has. Well, he's 5 off.
Well, it's like he's got so much damage. He doesn't have the mana for everything. He's missing just a few points of mana for this.
Let's see. Because I mean, yeah, Rockbiter with the with Doomhammer would clear out those taunts quite nicely. I mean, he probably
can't play the lightning.
You do have to pay 8 life to do that too, by the way. If you do it that way, and you're facing down. I mean, your opponent put 14 power with the stuff on the board.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pay. I would not do that for the record. But like maybe one of them.
I think if you're going to do it, I think you're just going to use the Alec here with the Rockbiter.
Yeah, I suppose it's true. Gotta save that health total. Oh, it's such a crazy turn right now for Kuhaku. Alec here, Rockbiter. Is that the only option?
I think it's the most reasonable one. But again, you're still facing down 14 power. Like I mean, you could still die next turn if your opponent had, like, say, Arcane Golem with Faceless Manipulator and Soulfire. I mean, your opponent's only got 3 cards in their hand, of course, too. So I don't know how much on your radar that is, but
yeah,
it's like there is a potential for counter lethal here too.
I feel like it's a chance you got to take, though. If you don't do it now, you know, when's it going to happen? Here we
like
go.
It.
Yep, he's going to clear both of these.
Alec here's
4 or 5.
Yep. Alec here's going to get Mortal Coiled too, so he gets to pick up another draw.
Oh man, you're right. And so let's see, what do we have right now for Tides of Time? There's Shadow Flame. Okay.
Wow. You know what? He can. Something
Mortal
he could have done.
first, yeah.
He could have played like the big Game Hunter and Shadow Flame that and Mortal Coil the 6/5.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very quick to act there. He's just going to use the Molten Giant health, though. Can't blame him for that. I think that's fine also.
Playing it safe. Yep. And yeah, now the Twilight Drake comes down. Gets a Sludge Belcher there as well. Yeah. That is a strong board.
Very strong turn.
It's a little bit worse against something like Lightning Storm, but he doesn't have it in his hand yet. And Haunted Creeper is not.
Yeah, I mean, he has to play the Feral Spirits at least this turn. Feral Spirits and, I mean, Doomhammer, but you would take damage attacking with Doomhammer, so it's not even something that you can do at this point, not facing down that.
Yeah, he's still looking at kind of the same position, too. Like, Tide still has Shadow Flame for that. So even if he plays the Feral Spirits, he can just clear his board and keep going.
Yep.
And again, so much damage on this board. 11, 15.
You know, he
8.
saw one Shadow Flame get discarded early on, you know, through
that's
Soulfire.
right.
So he can play without, you know, worrying about that too much. And I mean, even if he didn't see that, at this point in the game, you're like, well, I hope he doesn't have it, you know?
Yeah. You don't have any other options.
Yeah.
I wonder if he is playing a copy of
Lava Burst.
Lava Burst.
Yeah. I wonder.
It's making me wonder. That exactly 8 life.
Yeah.
We've seen it, but I think that may have just been the Coast players.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was that seemed like a team deck coming out of those guys, and it was very cool, but not something we see too often, I think.
I don't know if there's a great play here. This is so scary.
So much. I mean, well, the fact is, we talked about Shadow Flame really does change everything right now, where it doesn't really matter what taunts are coming out. I mean, we've got to see the Feral Spirits, right? I mean, from the perspective of Kuhaku, there's really no other option.
Yeah, he doesn't want to Lightning Bolt that Molten Giant.
You have to.
But you have to. That's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Big Game Hunter Shadow Flame. And not quite enough to kill him. Oh, look at that. He can even give himself a few more taunts at the end. Not too bad.
How willing are you to life tap here since your opponent just lightning bolted your
That's a good point. Yeah,
your 8-2, like D1 the other card?
Are you a little bit more comfortable with that? Yeah.
I still think I'm not life tapping. I think this looks pretty good already.
Come on, live on the edge, man.
He's got one
Play
card.
Hearthstone.
Well, you know it's not Lava Burst.
Yeah, that's true.
He would have died.
Yeah. So he can't like spell Power Totem Lava Burst to you unless he just draws it.
It's true. You can't double Lightning Bolt because one was already used.
I think he's going to life tap.
I don't know.
We've seen Tides take some pretty big risks so far this match. It would not surprise me to see a life tap at all.
The only risk to the quote-unquote safe play is some ridiculous Lightning Storm. Yeah. And outside of that, you might as well just play BGH and Shadow Flame it. It looks like he's going to do it with the Earth Ring Farseer instead, which is still fine. This is going to work out okay. And he gets a 4-2 instead of a 3-3. He doesn't get to attack with it this turn, though.
A little bit more damage on the board for later, though, I suppose.
He's even playing around Flame Tongue Totem here. Yeah. Just making sure he clears everything.
Yep.
There he goes. Wow, he's even going to taunt this up, too. He does not want any crazy shenanigans happening.
Yeah, I think he feels pretty confident. And there's Defender of Argus.
Oh, that is a very poor draw at the 2 poor draws in a row.
I mean, it's really small. It's tiny.
It's a tiny draw.
He can't even, like, I mean, he's overloaded. He doesn't even have enough mana to, like, Totem, Defender, and Doomhammer, and you wouldn't even have enough mana to do that even if you weren't overloaded. So it's just kind of a dead turn right now. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man.
Defender. Yeah. Well, this one's this is sort of like the look what I had turn.
Yeah. You just kind of play everything. It's like, well, this is why I lost. Yeah. Yep. And turn. And that's not only the end of the turn, but that is the end of the match, too. As soon as Kuhaku clicks that button, Tides of Time.
Well, he's only got 15 on the board right now.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we'll see what he draws, but it's going to be close.
Is he going to life tap to try to end it right now?
Siphon Soul.
Baseless Manipulator.
Siphon a 1/1 Totem. You got to do it, man. Better safe than sorry, right?
I don't know what on earth Kuhaku can draw, but whatever it is, he needs it right now, or this match is going to be over.
Spell Power Lightning Storm.
2 health left.
It'll leave a 1/2.
Manatide Totem! It drew so many cards at the beginning, and in the end it drew none. Tides takes it.
Tides of Time.
3 games to 2.
It got close. It got really close. Kuhaku definitely a player to watch in his other match in this tournament, but Tides of Time. Favorite comes in and takes it 3-2. That was a pretty epic series.
Yeah, I think it's actually this match I feel like was exceptionally played on both sides.
Yeah.
A lot of conservative play, but that conservative play was so merited when you saw like how the game developed and these players, the reads they're making and just what they have in their deck and what they know they